apply pressure to help me crystallize. And you've got the faith that I could bring paradise. I'll forgive and forget.
Welcome to this introductory presentation of sex signals. We've got Tierney here. Everybody say hi to Tierney. And I want to, we're just going to basically jump right in. And what this webinar is about understanding the subtle communication that women so understand naturally that men don't seem to get and men have to learn. There was a gentleman named Perper. Have I ever told you this? Perper? He did a study. I think he did his college thesis on it and spent hours and hours in bars and social environments studying men and women and subtle communication, subcommunication. And what he noticed was that women were very conscious on average, especially as they got more mature, of their subcommunication, what signals they were giving off. And they were often, when they were flirting with men, courting men, they're very indirect, is what his study showed. They don't come off, they don't walk up and say, hey, I want to meet you on average. And men, on the other hand, are usually more direct. The problem was that men couldn't see these subtle signals on average. They would respond to them a lot of the times, but didn't know why.
Men couldn't see the women's subtle signals?
Right. So the women's subtle signals could get men to respond, but it was kind of vague. It gets some respond, not others to respond. Guys weren't, and the guys would think they were responding because they wanted to. If you asked them later, they'd say, so who initiated first? And the man would say it was me. But a lot of times it was the woman. And he would see this in his hidden cameras and stuff like this. And then he realized when he did the actual calculations that only 1 in 31 men could read the signals consciously, were very aware of what was going on. And those men would be having conversations with the women through the subcommunication rather than directly. Or they'd be responding directly to the subcommunication, answering her questions directly. Something like this. In your mind, do you see this to be true?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even just subtly trying to make eye contact with a guy across the room, that's a woman's subtle signal of saying, I want you to talk to me. And yeah, of course, so many guys will come up and start talking and be like, oh, I was the one who initiated it, but like,
yeah.
No.
Well, we like to be the man, so. But there's that old saying, and this is not to be sexist or anything like that, but there's an old saying, behind every great man is a great woman. And I don't think that's sexist, because in actuality, what you just said is true. I think if a man, like you've talked to Zig Ziglar, he was this great teacher of sales and marketing. He was this really positive guy and really motivational speaker. And he talks about the redhead, which was his wife. And he just refers to her and just praises her up and down and says up and down, I wouldn't do half the things I do if it wasn't for her. Like, she keeps me straight. She keeps me on the straight and narrow. She calls me out when I need to be called out. She keeps me from going down the wrong path. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, and in both directions. So do you... Let's talk about your subtle signals. That's what this is really about. Sex signals is a product where we take a look at these signals that women give off. And what I want to do is take a look at your subtle signals and how they relate to what's going on. So we've got a little list here of some questions we're going to play with. We were talking about this yesterday. How many men do you think approach you on average in a month? And how many of them stand out?
How many men approach me in a month and how many stand out?
Yeah.
Well, I was saying yesterday to Brian that kind of depends on whether I decide to go out or not. And if I do, I mean, it's going to be like going to a bar. That's where men usually approach me when I'm out in a social setting, whether it's a bar or a club or a party or something similar. It's rare that a man will approach me at the grocery store. But I can see, on average, like 3 guys a day. I could be at the grocery store. I could be on the street. I can see like 3 guys a day making that eye contact, making those subtle movements that they would like to approach me, but they don't, which is a bummer. And I think they should. And
see, and this is the interesting part. You really want them to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you would love to meet them. And I know you, and it's interesting with you, you're a very confident woman. I've noticed that you're a very, let's say, go-getter type of woman. I see you always taking action and stuff like that. How many of the, I mean, I guess when I think about that, is that do you think that that's what's the difference? Okay, this is the question. What's the difference between a guy that approaches on the street and is just obnoxious and rude, and you're like, okay, I don't have time for this, and a guy that's actually like you're saying, I want them to approach me. What's that guy like? What's the difference?
Both on the street, not like in a bar setting.
Right, in the street.
Well,
it probably is similar
if
to
they
the
were
bar.
rude and obnoxious, my question is, why are you approaching me?
The question is what is, because some of these guys think they're being nice, but I see girls are like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
They're trying.
Okay.
They're trying, but they don't understand. They're missing a piece,
yeah,
right?
I think it's like that fake confidence that kind of kicks in for guys where they feel like, today I'm going to be that guy and I'm going to approach that girl on the street. I see her, I'm going for her. You know what I mean? That's what comes off as like aggressive.
Bravado. A bravado.
Yeah. And a lot of times girls are taken back by that because it's like, it's obvious that there's like a fake confidence there, or like you're being very aggressive, as opposed to the guy who has a genuine interest in you. I feel like. So
if the guy comes up with a genuine interest and he's polite, you actually like that. You appreciate that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So I want you guys to understand that she's not saying not to approach. She's saying be real. Be authentic, be honest. And that's really important. That's what Fearless is all about. We're all about being honest and being real and learning to connect with that part of yourself that can communicate honestly.
Well, and each and every person watching this knows their confident side. They know when they're actually confident or when they're faking a confidence to approach a woman.
Right.
So it's really just being more in touch.
Well, it's that whole, I say to guys all the time, is like, how many people have said you just be confident? And does that ever work? And they always say, no, it doesn't work.
Right.
It's never worked for them. And so when I look at this, I say, being confident is not something you can fake. You have to actually develop it. It can be developed. Keep looking at these YouTube videos if you want to learn how, but it can be developed. And it's being a lot more in touch with your emotions than a lot of guys realize. They think it's shutting off emotion.
Oh yeah. No.
Good.
Because we want to see that you have access to like your vulnerable side. And I'm not saying, I want to see you cry. I'm just saying, I want to see that if I'm talking to you about me, we're like emotionally connecting. It's not just,
it's not needy.
Interested.
We used to talk about it as being vulnerable but strong, not vulnerable and needy. Not me putting my problems on you and saying, fix me, make me feel better.
Yeah.
But me owning my problems and being solid in them and owning my emotions and being solid in that.
And there's such a difference between the two.
Yes. And I think the guy that can do that is better at reading these subtle communications we were talking about.
You apply pressure, tell me crystalline, and you've got the faith that I could bring paradise.